Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Zenitsu, and you're listening to the Digi Talks Podcast, the show that covers various topics from news to meta developments and everything in between for the fine folks who love the Digimon trading card game. Just as a quick reminder, I do stream this live over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, as well as it being uploaded on YouTube under the channel of Zenitsu, as well as also being on various different podcasting platforms like Spotify for your viewing and listening pleasure. Please feel free, if you want to help support the podcast and the respective channels, to leave a rating, like, follow, subscribe, review, whatever, depending on the platform that you're choosing to listen or watch on. Today, I am finally back with my dearly beloved co-host, Teddy, and we are going to be talking about the BT16 meta and our early thoughts, not only just from the meta, but from the set itself. But first, Teddy, it's been a while, so do you have a glorious question of the week for our dearly beloved audience?
What's going on, everybody? I am super happy to be back. And yes, I do have a question. I kind of a two-parter. Um, One, this one's going to regard the meta. What do you guys expect to be the best decks, plural? I want to say top three. Let's do that because that's a little bit more simpler. Uh, in the meta that you guys think will be doing the best. And then the follow-up question to that, more for the fun, what deck are you excited to play the most coming in this set?
Those are two very, very good questions. Based on Japanese results, I'm obviously expecting anything with Magnamon X to probably be doing insanely well. Not only is he just the chase secret rare, the card is also kind of low-key broken just because of the protection he has and the two different ways that you could approach building the deck. Yes, not just one way, but two ways. And then as far as the deck I'm the most excited to play, I don't know. I haven't picked a deck yet. I think like at the start, I'm just gonna pick Mirage, probably because I can swap over to the BT13 Mach that lets me not be redirected. So I could try to Unga Bunga, even in BT16. And we also get a new Gabumon that has the built-in inheritable of jamming, so that way we can play with what level 3s and level 4s that we're going to be working with.
That's sick. I like that. I mean, Mirage is going to be good. We're seeing it a lot in this meta, and I don't think it's going to go away for sure. Um, as for me, I think, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We kind of assume that most yellow vaccine decks, either Rapid or Magna, will end up being the the two decks we see the most, and then there'll be some amalgamations of combinations of both of them. I do also think Numemon is still going to be running rampant quite hard. It doesn't lose anything; it only gains more. So unless a restriction or something funny happens, which I don't think will, um, uh, I could see it still being just dominant like we're seeing it nowadays. Um, and then as regard for my most anticipated deck, honestly, I'm really excited to play Birds. Um, I really like with the new BT16 stuff, and I've been playing it actually quite a bit on some simulators, and I just love it. I love the way it plays. It's really fun. It does really well into a good amount of decks, so I'm quite excited to play that. That'll probably be my favorite deck.
That Birds is definitely on one of my other friends' radars, so that's interesting that you said you're excited for Birds. Before we get into the actual meta breakdown, we actually do know a little bit more information about Special Booster 2.0. Yes, that is the naming convention. They're deciding to go with it. It kind of makes sense because, first time around we had Special Booster 1.0 and 1.5. Now here's Special Booster 2.0 and 2.5, I'm guessing, respectively. So we do have some information on that as we head towards unification. It looks like BT18 is going to be about Digimon Frontier. So we get more Season 4 support, so expect a lot of hybrid fun stuff. And then BT19 is looking to be more Cross Wars related. So we get more Cross Wars. So we're going to finally get ace cards for both of the respective archetypes in each of the respective seasons. So we're going to be getting like Susano Ace, Lord Knight Ace, Dynus Ace. I'm pretty sure Cross is going to have some ace of its own, on top of the fact that we also get like Zed Millenniumon finally. And Cross Wars is taking more inspiration from the manga, considering between BT10, BT11, and BT12, they kind of covered all three like parts of the anime. So they didn't really have a whole lot of room to further expand. They still have some Digimon that they could go back to and some callbacks, but in terms of like bringing out some of the flavor of the story of Cross Wars, they were for the most part done. So it looks like they're just relying on dipping into manga territory, which I definitely think is nice because the manga told a different story, and we're getting a couple of different Digimon. Then as far as the English exclusives, in terms of what we're getting in 2.0, we are actually going to be getting a box topper is being upgraded from 1 card per pack to 2 cards. Yay! And it will now include Tamers and Digimon. So this is just the same generic box topper that we usually get, where usually it's a Digitama, one of the main Digimon, or a Tamer. So that's going to be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be one is going to be part of the cards from BT18, and then the other slot is part of the cards from BT19. And then the same thing's going to go with 2.0, I'm guessing. And then in addition, we get a new bonus, and it will be a lucky pack as an extra box topper. And this will have 22 different cards in it. I don't know what those cards are, but 22 is a pretty high number. I really hope that these packs are on the more generous side, giving us at least like maybe 3, 4, or 5 cards per pack. I know that's probably asking for a lot, but you know,
I don't think that is.
I honestly don't. Like 22 cards, and if we're only getting like, the pull rates would be astronomically bad, just like the starter deck, the Gabumon like reprint starter deck. Like it would be that level of bad if they decided to go that approach. Which
so many.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards. And we have no idea if these are going to be promos, reprints, or whatever. It just says literally Lucky Pack as a box topper. So maybe this is where we're going to be getting the LM reprints.
Oh yeah, the alt arts and stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are really excited
That
for
Death X.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Death X. I don't even remember what some of the other reprints were from the second wave of LM. Let me pull that.
I'm
up
not even
real
gonna
quick.
act like I'm not gonna act like I remember. I think everybody just wants Death X.
Yeah, it's so funny that they basically just like LM to me is kind of a joke because it's basically just promo 2.0. Like they literally created a second subset of promos. Essentially is what LM means to me.
Effectively, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, so as far as some of the LM cards that they could introduce outside of the reprints, we have Bond of Bravery Ace, Bond of Friendship Ace.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, Maid Mode Ace, Shiva Ace. What a lot of people are excited for is Cyberdramon Ace and Megidramon Ace. And then we get the Scramble cards. I think they're going to save the Scramble cards for something else, but I have no idea what they're going to do with those 22 cards, to be honest.
I can't even imagine. I hope that they give us more than 2.
Yeah, and then they're changing up lottery cards this time. And they're actually going to be signature cards. So, the artist actually going to be signing it. So, I know...
Kenji Watanabe.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
That's going to be super dope seeing artist signatures on cards. I know in the Weiss Schwartz community, that's a huge thing. Like, they freaking love, like, I think they do it with the voice actors instead of artists because, they just take screenshots for their art and call it a day. But to inject some flavor, I think they have the Japanese voice actors sign the cards, which is cool.
Pretty cool.
So they're taking pages from other card games, which is nice. And then as far as the rarity breakdowns, I really don't think the commons and uncommons are going to matter too much. The rares, there's going to be 28 rares, which is higher than our normal amount. But in a single booster box, how many packs do we get in a booster box? 30?
It's 24.
24?
Oh,
Okay, so rares will be a little bit. Yeah, it's 24. Why did I think 30? I was thinking of a different card game. I've been talking to Mark too much. Not your Mark, my Mark. Because he's all over the place with TCGs. Love him to death. But that means
I'm the same.
Yeah, that means rares are going to be. You're still probably going to get one rare per box. It's just there's going to be less duplicates. And then the supers is going to be 18 super rares in this box, which is higher than what we're used to. I think what we see 12 ordinarily, 12 or 14. No, we see.
I thought it was like 11 to 12.
Yeah, it's I think it's on average 12. So having that be bumped up, no shocker there. No, it is 12 because they're splitting it. Yeah. Okay, it is 12, so they're just giving us half of the other supers here. So who knows if the packs are going to be similar to Special Booster 1.5 in terms of how easy it is, or like BT8, because they made those packs a little bit easier to get the supers. So I'm not entirely super concerned about the supers as long as the pull rates of supers isn't screwed with. Secrets, though, we're getting 4. So
that's not good.
Yeah. We already see with BT15, 3 can be pretty bad, and we have no idea if the secrets are actually going to be good secrets, because secrets fall into 2 categories. Either it's a mandatory 4 of, must play in everything, or it's garbage and it's unplayable.
Yep,
there is very little in between.
I don't think there's any that I can think of that, for the most part.
Yeah, you get your Death X's and your shines every now and then, where it's this is just a really good tech card. It's not a 4 of, but it's really good in everything.
Exactly. So I can't see that being that I don't think it'll be any better. So it's either there's going to be probably 1 or 2 that'll be good, and then I highly assume that the other 2 will not be that great.
Yeah. So that's going to be what's to come with Special Booster 2.0. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, there's going to be 150 total cards. So I'm guessing the second set will have around the same number, and probably, again, around the same ratios. Just, finishing off BT19, like they said, and then giving us BT20, which we have no idea what BT20 is going to be about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're literally jumping from Frontiers to Cross Wars. Okay.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, because they're getting a bit of support in the sets prior, come BT17, because there's some hybrid stuff there, and then I guess there's going to be more in the next set following, and then a combination of that plus Cross, which is weird.
I know what it's not going to be, though. It's not going to be Tamers. I think because of just where all of the ace cards are, Tamers does not seem like it's going to be the set for BT20. But we could speculate all we want about what BT20 is going to actually end up being. I'm just taking a look at what, archetypes and seasons and whatever haven't gotten ace cards, and then just correlating that. And unfortunately, they decided to split up a lot of the ace cards for Tamers in all different sorts of places. Because you get your Gabumon aces as LM cards, and you get your Sakuya as an LM card. Rapidmon came in the starter deck. They probably can make Beelzemon a promo if he's to actually get an ace.
Is Gabumon from the LM or is he from?
McGeedramon is, and
The
then
Megidramon, yeah,
yeah, and
that's
then
what I
in
remember.
BT17 you
Yeah, they
get
get a
Crimson
Gallimon Crimson
Ace.
mode.
So
I was
like
like, Gallimon? I don't remember that.
yeah, so like a lot of tamers unfortunately is kind of like covered in terms of like where aces are coming from because Bandai designs based on gimmicks. So like this is a thing they've done with Dragon Ball Super for a while where it's just like this is the year of Unison and this is the year of Zenkai and this like and they're just taking those types of gimmicks and trends and just copying them to Digimon. Not the mechanics, but God no. I do not want to see Zenkai decks inside of Digimon. That would be an absolute
Yeah, let's
nightmare.
not do that. Let's not do that.
But
Keep
yeah,
that over to Dragon Ball.
outside of that, I don't really think there was any other news outside of we're just getting EX7 spoilers. And we
Yep.
just finished spoilers for the starter deck.
Which is cool. By the way, I really like the new starter. Both of them. They're
Yeah.
both interesting.
I'm curious to see how EX7 is going to play out. We do know that they are going to be supporting Liberators for a while, because Liberators is probably going to be the sub theme to carry block what? Block 4?
Yeah, the next Seekers-esque thing.
Yeah. So those are going to be highly supported for a while. But yeah,
Which
so
I'm not opposed to.
no,
I'm excited. I really do like the new Digimon. They're both pretty cool.
yes.
And we still have that new unknown one that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and who's to say that protagonist or not protagonist, the cast of characters Digimon isn't going to change or evolve into something we have no idea. Like just because we saw Galactimon doesn't mean we're going to be getting a hardcore Galactimon, like brand new Galacti support. We could, but you know, the character obviously could take a ginormous left shift and left turn and just completely change up his deck, which means change up his partner Digimon. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I think Seekers starts officially on the 24th. Am I wrong?
No, I believe you are correct. 24th.
Okay, so I'm excited to see what that's gonna hold because I hear the protagonist kind of sucks. Like story wise, he's just like, yeah, I suck as a Digimon player until I hit Liberators and find my partner Digimon, and then I start being good. And I'm just like, aw, you're so cute.
That's pretty funny.
Well, I hate the Yu-Gi-Oh approach to like card game properties and stuff where it's just like, yeah, the protagonist always wins because he's the
He's the
hero.
chosen one.
Yeah, like I like it sometimes when the protagonist loses a little bit.
Yeah, learns. It gets better, and you watch them grow over the course of the season or however long it takes.
Right. So it'll be fun seeing that whole thing shake up and develop.
Yeah, and for me, it's just new Digimon media. I'm all for it.
Yeah. I finished reading Seekers, by the way, and Seekers
Yeah,
was...
did you like it?
I kind of did. Towards the end, I think it got like a lot better, and then it just decided to be like, and we're done here. And I'm like, but the story's not done. The story is not done. Anything.
They didn't finish like 2 or 3 major plot points.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, like
won't spoil. If you want to go read it, but it just a lot of it is unresolved.
Yeah, it just pissed me off that it wasn't resolved, and I think they're trying to resolve it in card form, which is the funny thing. Based on some of the cards that we've seen in like what BT17. So, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. There's nothing. There's nothing we can do about it. So it's only hope that they do it justice.
Yes. So with all of that said and done, that's the news portion and a little bit of side tangents based on, our excitement for things to come. We had an event to talk about.
Yeah.
So we had an Ultimate Cup. Thank God Ultimate Cup is normal format. So we don't have to throw all of this data away when talking about the meta, which is always nice. I love that. Keep it up, Bandai. And yeah, so the interesting thing is me and Mark did an episode on how X and 2 is no longer good enough, and this definitely is an event that echoes that sentiment. Like, I think based on the X and 2 mentality came from probably Magic the Gathering, because they rewarded more than top 16, and those also were just larger events. So that's probably where that X2 mentality came from. But yeah, this event, the lowest record was X11. Just to put things into perspective, there were two people with X11. So yeah, anyone who went X2, sorry, you didn't get into top
Yep, you
16.
just broke out. You just got kicked out of top 16.
Yeah, X1 is the new standard. X1 and drop. God, that just sounds awful. Yeah, you get one loss and you're done. Like single elimination. Jeez.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's brutal.
It
Uh
does suck that is the case, but I mean, it's just the nature of how many people got into the event, how they score it. It's a little weird. That's all.
Yeah, because this wasn't our like new cap level event. This one was our old cap, which was uncapped, which I guess was technically still capped at like 512. So this event was 477 players, 8 rounds, best of three Swiss, and the top deck goes to yellow vaccines, which is something I'm not exactly used to seeing. But yeah, yellow vaccines ended up taking the event. They were definitely playing more of, I don't know, yellow vaccines just does whatever it does. This definitely was like sword and shield approach is kind of how I like to say it, where it's like
Yeah,
Mitamamon
it's super
is your
aggro.
aggro. It's going to take away cards from your security, and then you have Serafimon as your shield, putting cards back into your security. But Serafimon also is kind of slightly aggro because he gets security attack +1 when you do that. Um, and then
I mean, this definitely leans more towards aggro. Looking at the list.
yeah, and then it's relying solely on Revelation of Light as like the security bomb. That also could put itself into security and triggers when it's trashed. So it makes sense. It's using the purple Kari to just have extra ways to anti-tempo the opponent, or just gain extra memory if you need it in a pinch. It's using the TK Patamon because that's staple in every yellow vaccine. They are playing a tiny bit of the new Rapid Bond, the level 4, just for that DP, and he's a blocker and he's really hard to
Protected
deal with.
body.
Yeah, he's just a solid card. They're playing double aces as their level 4s, or not level 4s,
Pretty
level
normal.
5s. And then Gato Angemon as the other level 4s, and then they're oddly enough playing Bushi Agumon, probably just as a way like, oh, I have enough memory passively. Sure, Bushi Agumon swing for game, because Mitamamon gives it rush. I think, yeah, it gives it rush, so there's no real reason for it. Like,
It's just for probably extra. Like they use like Mitama, trash a card, double Kari. If you're at 3, you have double Kari, gain 2 memory, so you could play level 4, swing with level 4, then play Bushy. I see the idea, and I mean it clearly it worked.
right. Yeah, because TK for gaining memory also, like, or for cards going into your security also gains you memory. So like there's a ton of like stuff to play around with to get that extra memory to Bushi for game. Um I like it. I think it's a very Yellow Vaccines is just an insanely flexible deck. So I
Yeah,
think
you'll
it could
see every list look slightly different, either top end, middle, or low end. Except, well, the low end kind of roughly stays the same. But even this is pretty different.
yeah.
It's like most low ends don't use Force Atla, Bushy Agumon, so it's like this is pretty cool. The only thing that doesn't change is usually Patamon. Other than that, like the rest of the deck is pretty flexible, which is pretty cool. I do like that about Yellow Vaccine.
Yeah. So that was the big winner. And just to quickly go over the rest of them, because the majority of these decks, spoiler, are not very interesting. We've seen before and are not new into top 16 for the BT16 meta. So second place we have Mirage. Third place we have Numemon. Fourth place we have Devas. 5th place, we have Red Hybrids. 6th place, we have Lugumon. 7th, Mirage. 8th, Mirage. 9th, Bloomlord. That's probably a slight shakeup. We've seen a Bloomlord before, but it's not very common.
It's the guy I lost to.
That's funny. Then we have 10th place Numemon, 11th place Numemon, 12th place Numemon, 13th place Beelzemon, another slightly uncommon one, but not anything we haven't seen before. 14th is Gabumon. This is Gabumon's first actual break into top 16, so we'll go over that in a hot minute. And then 15th is Shine, and 16th is Deva. The archetype breakdown is 4 Numemons, 3 Mirages, 2 Devas, 1 yellow Vaccine, 1 yellow Hybrid, 1 Lugumon, 1 Bloomlord, 1 Beelzemon, 1 Bond, and 1 Shine. So, is there anything interesting about the Beelzemon or Bloomlord decks? I think
I like the Bloomlord.
The Bloomlord is pretty standard, I think. It does a little bit things differently. They're a little more on the Palmon package.
I like the Entomon as well.
Yeah, the Entomon is really good. And then they're also higher on the Lilymon Aces, probably just for the Numemon matchup, because all of Numemon's stuff outside of the level 5s are like less than 5k. So it's just like, oh, you fall into a Lilymon Ace and it just bottom decks it, which is really important in Numemon because it doesn't trigger on delete effects. So that's probably their spicy lean. They're also running Quantumon. I think Quantumon is pretty standard. Just again, alternative removal, built-in protection, fairy. All
Quantumon is crazy.
Yeah, the other thing that they are playing around with that I don't see a whole lot of people doing, that I kind of was like fuddling around with, is a new world. To be able to like, oh, I played this Palmon for free. I'm gonna a new world, bounce it to my hand, play Mimi, tap Mimi, do things, and like replay Palmon through another card's effects. Like it just, it's a good card.
It's the opposite.
Oh, it's the opposite.
You have Mimi, so like you could do like things like suspend your bodies, gain memory, use a new world, bounce the Mimi to play Palmon search 2, then have like evolve Toge evolve, play Mimi for free, the Mimi you just added, search another. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty
cool
cool
what he was doing with
it. It was pretty nutty. Like he was doing some crazy stuff when we were playing. Really, really solid player too. Like he was cracked.
Yeah, and then they're also playing a Chimeramon just because you just have a whole bunch of level 4s, might as well DNA. No reason not to.
Yeah, I never saw it, so I didn't know this was in there, but I saw the Entmon, which was pretty cool.
I like Entmon, to be honest. Like, he's just a good aggressive level 5. Yeah.
So good. In this deck, at least, it makes sense, because you just Digisorb, unsuspend. So it makes it a free Evo, effectively.
Yeah, and then hopping over to the Beelzemon deck, it is 99.9% your standard fanfare Beelzemon. The only spice that they're running is Myotis Ace, which I don't think is bad, because if you get a Iron Mako into your trash, there's not a whole lot of ways to pull it out. So, surprise Ace, Myotismon, that's also a blocker, play a Tamer or a level 3 Digimon is really good, because all of your level 3s are solid. Some of them have really good on-play effects or on-delete effects you want to use.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very interesting.
Yeah, outside of that, the rest of the deck is fairly standard at this point. They are running the Balmon X with the X antibody, so I've seen a lot of the other successful Beelzemon lists use that combo and tech package, so maybe that's just the direction that Beelzemon has to go into to be extra successful.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like this list a lot, and I mean, I see exactly the vision. So
yeah,
it's cool.
And then the big one, the newcomer into the BT16 meta, is the Gabumon deck, and we've seen Gabumon before, but now because of the BT15 Metal Garurumon, you have an extra way to climb literally right off of a Gabumon. So it's just like, cool, I could either Metal Garurumon or I could Bond. It gives you more flexible options. as far as what the list is actually doing, low end is just Gabumons and Ukamon. Ukamon turbo raising area, gain extra memory is absolutely broken. People who tell me otherwise, they're wrong. The card's just
Yeah,
cracked.
it is beyond broken. I was saying it way early on. Like
Yeah,
that card is
at first I
crazy.
saw it and I was just like, oh no, the card's fine. And
I was
then
all on it.
yeah, and you
Dude.
were just like, no, dude, no, this card's like actually broken. It's cracked. And now here I am singing your song.
Like it's crazy how much flexibility it adds to a deck.
The crazy thing is Matt and Louis and Ukamon, like they're just absolutely stupid together because Matt is not once per turn when you raise.
Correct.
So you could just like Louis to raise, gain extra memory, and draw cards with Matt for raising Gabumons. Then if you have Ukamon sitting on the field, just gain an extra memory. And yeah, it's so gross on
Yeah.
how weird.
Unpreventable memory gain and draw power.
Yeah. And then outside of that, the rest of the deck is just, the good Gabumons that are digging and searching and drawing, and then the Bond Gabumon. Then the level 4s is hybrids, because, you have tamers, might as well play hybrids. You're focused on your Gabumon, so you don't necessarily want to use them to evolve all the time. So they're running Lanamon and Kumamon, which is good. And then their spicy tech is not really a spicy tech, it's Gesomon. I've seen this card before, and it's just
It's really nice.
yeah, it's just low level removal on a low level body, which is not very common. So the fact that it could just efficiently deal with like Numemons is partially why the card is like really important right now, because it trashes a
Numemon,
Digivolution source.
Floodgates.
Yep.
I mean, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah, so it trashes the Digivolution source, and then bottom decks a level 5 or lower Digimon with no Digivolution source. So in a deck like Numemon that isn't trying to gain a whole bunch of inheritables, it's just trying to replay its bodies, this just bounces them to the hand and basically says, no, I don't care about that. You can't get your on-delete effect. Pfft, you kidding me?
It's funny because it actually helps into it helps into that. It helps into Levia because you can trash like the Proto X,
Red hybrids.
red hybrids. It does quite a bit of work, honestly.
Yeah, the
Like,
only problem with the card is the 4K. It's
yeah,
it's
he's a weak
4-cost
little
4K.
dinky boy
And
for sure.
outside of the YOLO Bukamon egg, the deck doesn't really play a lot of ways to give it jamming. You technically could Lanamon to give it jamming, but
I mean,
that's
I
about
think
it.
the purpose of it is just it's not really there for that. It's just a free draw when you evolve, and then swing when you're trying to search for more pieces while simultaneously getting extra effects. So I think it's fine. It makes sense why it's there.
Yeah, I mean, both the BT15 and EX1 Gabumons are good inheritables for it, just to, swing, attack, bounce something, draw.
Or
Easy.
yeah, exactly. No,
Um, yeah.
it's solid.
Then they're running Zudo Ace, because Zudo Ace is an absolutely broken card. Goes really good with your hyper aggressive level 4s. Then when it comes to the level 6s and 7s, it's just the brand new BT15 Metal Guru and Bond of Friendship. No reason not to use those, because that's the whole point of the deck. And then they're also teching in Death Exmon for wide fields, because the deck is really good at like single target removal, thanks to Foxfire being like actually broken in this deck. Because it's a very cheap removal card that can deal with a lot of problems, because on base it just bounces level 4 or lower, which is fine, but because it's a Gabumon deck, it just bounces the lowest level instead. So it's just like, oh, for 4, just basically getting rid of your level 6, that's insanely efficient.
It's quite an insane card. Not gonna front. Like it's really really good. Like
Yeah, then they have Blue Memory Boost as the digging tool, Davis as a digging tool, plus Tamer fodder. Sora and Joe, extra memory is always good. Plus, again, if they need to, Tamer fodder. Then obviously the Bond Mat and Louis to be able to like turbo cycle and turbo raising.
yo, Sora and Gessamon together is actually crazy.
Yeah, because then you just strip 3 sources. It deals with X antibody style
Numa
cards.
X and stuff like that. That's pretty solid. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. Cool.
And then their eggs aren't anything special. I think a lot of people just are defaulting to
Wanya.
Wanya. Yeah, it's like Wanyamon and Bukamon. That's the combo.
Yep. Draw and maybe jamming, which is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah,
Honestly.
so that's pretty much it for the event. If anyone's curious, I did update my metadata. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I'm going to have a whole video covering it. But essentially, the top 8 decks we've known for a while. The top 8 decks make up literally 80% of the meta. So if a deck at this point is not in like one of these top 8 decks, it's already kind of just in this rogue territory. So Numemon is number 1. Numemon finally broke that 20% barrier, so it is officially the best deck. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it, considering the second forerunner is now Red Hybrids, which is at 12% meta representation, which, again, it's just Red Hybrids, a very aggressive deck. Leviamon's actually starting to fall off. It hasn't seen some great success in the past couple of events, but it's still a very strong deck. You shouldn't underestimate it. That's about 10%, tied with Mirage and Devas, which are on the increase, probably because there's more Numemon players, and I think Leviamon has a hard time with Numemon.
Now that they're running the Zord defeats and stuff, yeah, it's basically just like an auto die if they go into Leviamon, which means they just lose their stack.
Yeah, and then sixth place, you have Lugabon, now at 8%. He pops up every now and then, a little infrequent, but more frequent than a lot of the other decks. Still just a big Wombo Combo OTK deck, just not as good as Mirage. And then 7th and 8th are tied with Shine and Yellow Vaccines, and those are both at about 5%, because, Yellow decks tend to struggle when it comes to actually taking top slots because they are the ones recovering and stalling out the game to get those ties.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this is kind of how it's been for this meta, so.
Yeah. So that's where the meta is. I'm not really expecting outside of those positions to shift around a little bit. The meta to really change past this. It just is how big of a nuisance is Numemon, and how many decks are able to actually try to figure out tech to be able to beat it. So yeah, Numemon is, as of right now, the best deck officially, as dubbed by the Grand Pope Poobah Metamaster.
Heck yeah. And we rejoice. Numemon's fun. And I mean, it's a absurdly strong deck that's only going to get stronger.
Yeah, it's only getting stronger because of BT16. So this is a good way to transition into that BT16 talk we promised. And Numemon definitely is still looking like a very strong deck just because of the brand new Ukamon that should also get, slapped with the sledgehammer over the head on how stupid this card is.
Yeah, I mean, it is genuinely absurd how good the Ukamons are. Like, they're splashable. Especially this new one is just splashable in any deck. Literally, going forward. And no stipulations on its effect. A 1-cost Evo, which honestly doesn't matter. Because of how much value you get. No, it just means it's the perfect
choking tool, turn 1.
Exactly. The amount of value you get from it adds a Tamer or a Digimon. No stipulation, just any one of them. What are you missing? Digimon, promote. Hatch another egg, find a level 3. Evolve in the back, draw. Now you get a free swing because you don't care what happens to the body after that. Or you leave it there if you know your opponent can't deal with it.
And then you just get more value.
So it's like, there's no downsides to the card, and there needs to be downsides.
The downside is the Evo for 1, but it's not even that big of a downside.
Not a downside.
Yeah.
That's not a downside. 1 cost to search 3 cards, add any 1 card that I want, that's not a downside.
No, it's not.
That's not it. And on top of that, you Evo, yeah, you're paying 1, but you still get the draw for the Evo, and then it's just too good.
Yeah, so this card changes Numemon's low end to just be almost all Ukamons, and then their rookie of choice. Like, their extra rookie of choice, because it's just like, yeah, I'm just using Ukamon to gain memory to play my Numemons, or Ukamon to dig for my specific cards. Because right now we're running X-antibody-based searching cards to try to find, the cards that matter, which are the X-antibodies. And Ukamon from BT16 basically replaces that because it just does it all in 1 card.
Like, you don't need anything else. And then you also set up the next Uko in the back to do it again come the following turn, or set up a turn where you can gain memory and it's just too much. Like
Yeah.
they're too much value off just level threes.
Yeah,
Is
and Big Ugumon is definitely not something you are going to generally play. I know in like Bandai's like, oh, here's our recommended deck profiles,
that's
which are
funny.
usually pretty bad. They've gotten better. But it's so funny seeing them say, yeah, Big Ukamon is part of Numemon. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, no. Numemon has better cards to play than Big Ukamon. Big Ukamon just literally doesn't do anything.
Like you play my level threes, I can already do that. I can play my level fours already with level five. So why do I need a why do I need something like that to help me? It doesn't even help at all. So
Yeah.
it's like
And then because it's white, it limits what level sevens you're gonna be using. Like it's not good. And neither is the Louis that goes with it. So like even if they do hit the Ukamons, because of how bad Big Ukamon is, I honestly don't think it's that big of a hit. Like it's gonna be that 50 cent SR anyway.
exactly. So it makes that the card was already irrelevant, so it makes no difference.
Yeah,
I'm sure maybe somebody will find some funny way to make it good, but
I've seen like some
I
Bond
would be
decks
very
use
hard
it.
pressed.
Yeah. I've seen some Bond decks use it, but like again, it's just more of a cute cheeky thing rather than like, yeah, this is my actual whole strategy. So, but speaking of whole strategies, Myotismon's in this set and he's very
Yes,
underwhelming.
sir. I can't wait to play that deck. I'm so excited.
I find him to be extremely underwhelming compared to where the rest of the entire game is. It's just like maybe if this card came out like in BT10 or BT14, he would have some like a better shot at seeing some play.
I'm gonna play it. You'll see. I guarantee. If we do any events, you'll see me playing it. At least, at least once.
Yeah, it's just funny considering like looking at the whole set, like Hyotismon is just a standout card because of how laughable. Yeah, like he's not a bad card. It's just the deck that
The
he
other cards
works
are
with.
infinitely better.
Yeah, it's just the deck that he works with is just it's not all there. Like they've tried multiple times and he suffers from like Ragnar Lordmon syndrome where it's just like, yeah, let's redo how this is done, except it doesn't really play well with the old stuff, but it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't.
I think I like this support with the older support. It's not the worst, especially with like the Malomyotismon support that was given us to forever ago. It's not the worst because of the Yukio and they synergize well together. It's just it's not doing enough for what you're paying like what you're paying to do. Like you have to delete your tamer to play the guy. The guy only trashes one. He's just a beat stick after he does his effect. So it's like not the new one. Thankfully the new one is actually a lot better. But it's not enough for what it how much cost goes into it. Like a 4 cost tamer, 3 cost tamer, and you have to have your trash set up so that you could do that. So that means you have to have been doing stuff prior, and just for a payoff that's not going to guarantee win you the game. Whereas like I could just play like Fenrir Lugumon and just do the same thing except with minimal cost. And once I go out, I'm almost always winning the game unless something in security stops me. So it's like, would I play that over playing Magnamon or I mean, even if I want to say a purple deck, would I play that over Leviamon? Like,
No.
like it's things like that. Like, you have to like the deck. Like, I will play it because I'm excited for it, knowing that I'll probably lose a good chunk of games I play, but it's okay. Um, for me, it doesn't matter too much. But if you're going with the idea that like competitively viable, yeah, this you just don't look at these cards. Don't look at these Biotismon cards. They're not the wave. Maybe a local you might be able to steal one, but not unless somebody proves me wrong, which they could. It could happen theoretically. Um, but a floodgate absolutely destroys you, and then the end one Pomumon absolutely ruins your day.
Yeah.
Your whole
Uh,
turn, your whole game is over.
yeah. You want to know what is the wave though? All of these new DNA decks, I actually think all of them are like kind of low key good. Some of them are obviously better than others. Like I honestly think the Sylphimon stuff is like low-key good, and then obviously the Pyldramon stuff is like borderline
Oh yeah.
cracked. Um,
Yep.
but
Pyldramon is
like all
nutty.
of them seem like they're fairly decent and fairly competent.
I really like the Sylphimon. Like the Sylphimon, like whole engine is awesome. Like the amount of generation you can put out, the removal is absurd.
Partition's just
It's
such a good ability. I really like Partition.
I'm very happy for it because it makes playing these decks a lot more efficient. Um, and not you're not as scared to throw them into security and die because then they just come back out. And then you could, if you have the means to DNA again, you could do it again. So I'm excited to mess with these cards because I do like the Sylphimon. The Shakomon I'm not as high on, but I could see where it could be good, but I would need to mess with it more. I have not messed with it at all in my playing, and I played a lot of BT16 already, and I have not messed with it yet. So I'll have to make a deck with it and see what funny stuff I can come up with.
Yeah, so your raking on the DNA stuff is probably similar to mine, where it's just like obviously Pyldramon, then Sylphimon, then Shakomon.
Yeah, 100%. I don't even think it's debatable. Like at the moment, at least, Shakomon looks like to be one of those cards that, as we go on, it'll get better. But at the current moment, there's not enough for it.
I mean, its color combination right now is like actually really
Awesome.
good. Like yellow and black, like black's already in my perspective like the hardcore anti-meta color, and then yellow is just literally cracked because it like has some of the mechanics that fundamentally break the game. Just because like recovery, DP minus, security attack minus, like they're just all really annoying effects. And the fact that like Shakomon has access to basically both ends of the spectrum, I like you said, I honestly think like in the future, with just a little bit of extra support, this card is like can be
Like,
absolutely insane. Especially since it's also traded as an angel, so you know the angel synergy
I'm
we know is a thing.
saying he's gonna be he has so much potential. He's a chaos degrade on legs that turns himself unaffected by effects or by Digimon effects. Like that's awesome. It's just at the moment he there's nothing to really take advantage of it.
Yeah, because he wants to be
So
played with like Cody and TK, and then the Intilamon and like Patamon engines. Except like the Intilamon stuff seems like it is naturally where it wants to go. And then the only unfortunate thing the one thing I really don't like about this set, with these DNA decks more specifically, because it is O2 themed. I really don't like the over reliance on the promos. Thank God we're getting those reprints. But it's not all of the
yeah,
reprints. The Tamers aren't getting reprinted, just the six main Digimon.
yeah, it does suck that we're not getting the tamers. It does hurt quite a bit.
I mean, the Tamers aren't like the most
They're not
important
as
part.
important for sure, but it still does suck because it's just cards that are just going to be harder to get for no reason.
Right, artificial scarcity. Like, it's weird because I feel like Bandai's been trying to figure out a way to inject value into Digimon because, like, literally the pull rates are, I believe, identical to, like, all of their other card games, like Dragon Ball, Fusion World, and One Piece.
Yes,
So it's just
they
like,
are.
what makes them have value and Digimon doesn't, outside of literally supply and demand? And, like, I think Bandai's trying to figure out that, like, how do we artificially increase demand?
I think it's just like Digimon will never be, at least as much as I want it to be. I don't think it will ever be one of those like franchises that will just be massively wide known like One Piece will. Like so
Yeah, One
that
Piece is a global
automatically
phenomenon. It's kind of hard to compare Digimon, which is a more niche
exactly.
IP, to a global phenomenon.
I mean, you say it exactly right there. It is a niche IP. So it's like, yes, it is well known, but it also is not like children nowadays are not widely looking at Digimon. So it's like, whereas children nowadays are growing up and seeing One Piece. Like One Piece is everywhere on like social media and all these other things. So it's like it makes sense why like One Piece cards will just naturally retain more value. even Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is just a literal global IP. Like everyone on planet Earth can, a good chunk of people can look at a Goku image and be like, "That's Dragon Ball."
Well, also, the to say this is in like the favor is like really awkward, but I honestly think it helped. Um, in terms of like make Fusion World more successful is the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama. Like that just
Yeah,
puts so much more attention on literally anything and everything he's been working on.
exactly. And it is unfortunate. And I had it definitely hit me quite hard when he did go, or when we heard the news. But it is true. It's the similar, like something kind of similar vein to like when Michael Jackson passed away, and everyone, literally all over the world, stopped and just listened to his music and things like that, and made his album go platinum again, like back on #1 on the charts and things
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think when Taylor Swift gets to that point, she definitely will have that level of impact too.
I don't doubt it. I really don't, man.
But you
Um,
want to know what actually will have impact and what will make this set one of the most desirable and sought after? The fact that we have two secret rares that are borderline like four ofs for
Amazing.
not only just their respective deck, but the fact that they both go into like a yellow vaccine armor based deck is like absolutely ridiculously
These are gonna be
stupid.
expensive cards, man.
Yes.
They're gonna be expensive, man.
How
So
expensive we don't know. I honestly think they're probably going to be around $60, probably base.
they're probably gonna be pretty close to Death X and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, the fact that
Um,
both of them are just that good
they're
and
mandatory
mandatory
four
four
ofs.
ofs. Like we've seen mandatory four of secret rares like Examon and
Fang Long.
Fanglong and Rena. Like Rena as a really good example, she is a hardcore mandatory four of, and she hits like she was up there like 40, 50
Yeah, she
bucks.
was in like the $50 for a
Yeah,
long time.
so just taking that as like a baseline for these, like yeah, they're
Still
gonna
is
be
50.
expensive AF, and people are gonna be like, it's probably just more in my interest to just straight up open the boxes and try to YOLO them than
I
sometimes
mean,
buy them.
I'm getting my case, so I'm gonna get my case for this set for sure.
You definitely won't have extras to give to me then. Dang.
I
You'll
won't
have
front with
extras
you.
of
I
everything
might
else.
I might get more though. Not gonna front because I would like one one of those chase arts for sure.
Yeah, I'm probably still just gonna stick to my 4 box rule, especially since I'm moving. Money is gonna be a little bit tighter.
That makes sense. I 100% agree. Life comes first.
Yeah.
This is fun, but fun doesn't equate to eating and living in a house. Uh,
Yeah. So I'm just gonna be getting my. I'm just gonna buy my playset and kind of just be done. Buy 4 boxes. See if I get lucky, and then just buy the rest. Like most normal people do.
that's fair. And you that most normal people you should do that. Buy singles. Don't buy don't buy boxes,
Yeah,
man. It's not
especially like if both of the secret rares are like actually that expensive. Like,
just
I
buy
mean, you
them.
could afford to try to YOLO because the chances of you missing and hitting the other one that's equally as valuable, like that's the part that gets me, where it's just like, okay, if I miss Magna, I can still hit Rapid, and I could then trade Rapid for Magna if they're going to have like somewhat equal value. I think obviously Magna is going to be more valuable because he's just the stronger card between the two. But
Yes.
anyone who like bought the advanced deck is definitely going to want that Rapid Bond.
Oh, I will be playing a lot of Rapid Mon X. I'll tell you that right now.
Now, are you going to play them
So,
as Rapid Bond X, or are you going to play the Yellow Vaccines variant?
I'm gonna have both decks built. I
Ooh,
have both of them built at the current moment. Everything basically done, except for the new cards. They're just waiting.
yeah,
So I'm gonna give them both a chance. I've been playing right now the green version, the Double Typhoon version for on the Sims for a lot, and it's really good, man. It feels good.
yeah. That deck seems like it has like it. Honestly, in BT15, it just literally felt like it was missing the second level 6, and then Rapid X comes along and says, "Hold my beer.
Dude,
I got you, fam."
Rapid X is insane.
Yeah,
That
the
card
only
is
problem with the
so
card
dumb.
is outside of Armor Purge, he doesn't have any other protections, but like his removal capability and like resource generation's like actually kind of stupid.
This individual card alone almost invalidates all of Numemon. Like that's how crazy this card is. Just him alone.
Yeah, because isn't it when the opponent suspends their Digimon, they just get minus 4K?
Yes, and he on evolve suspends all Digimon on your opponent's side of the board.
Yeah, so
And then
he
if
just
if
straight
they
up
are
nukes.
deleted, then you gain 2 memory. And this is all turns once per turn. So if they swing with a Numemon and they don't have a way to be over 4,000 DP, they will just auto die and then give me 2 memory.
The crazy part is like he evolves on top of Rapidmon for 4, so you could go from like level 4 to level 6 for 4 memory. That's like insanely good, and then you can make it less
And you can
because he's a
Mega Gargo.
Rapidmon. So if you have any tamers or like options set up, like
And he can evolve on and Mega Gargo can go on top of him.
can Mega Gargo? I thought Mega Gargo needs to be level 5 or lower.
He can evolve on top of any Digimon with Rapidmon in its name.
I'm fact checking you.
Go ahead, look it up.
Mega Gargo Ace. God dang
So
it! It doesn't.
Rapidmon
It
in name.
literally doesn't say level. Wow.
It's any Rapidmon in name. So he can evolve. You can Homie could swing over you with this guy. Or try to swing past.
Yeah,
And
the
even if
stupid
it's a
thing,
bigger Digimon, you can go into Mega Gargo
the
and then block.
the really stupid thing is I'm looking at like Black Mega Gargomon because like he also has that like alternative name based, and he
But it's different.
specifies level.
It specifies level 5.
Yeah, what? Wow.
That one just says that's why you can use like level 4s. You could skip going from level 4 to 6 with Mega Gargo because it just says Rapidmon in name.
Gross.
It's pretty absurd, man.
Absolutely gross.
It is pretty absurd what you're able to do with the Rapid and stuff. I'll tell you, I've been loving the deck. Both decks, Magna and Rapid.
Yeah, Magna definitely in Japan is obviously like the big forerunner. Just because like, he's the protagonist, and I
Omni
think
protection.
literally, yeah, the Omni protection off of Magna X's ability is probably what separates him from literally everyone else. So it's just like you remove a card when a card is removed from the security, he becomes basically immune and gets plus 3000 DP, which means he's a 15k blocker with armor
And
purge.
unsuspects.
Yeah, and unsuspends, and you can't touch him. Like, I honestly think this card's overtuned, and he's definitely warping the meta around him. On top of the bugs.
Yeah, Tyrant is really strong. Don't sleep on Tyrant. Tyrant can effectively deal with Magna.
Yeah, you just
Um,
have to have option removal for Tyrant because he's just unaffected by Digimon effects while he's
yes,
suspended. And like literally between these two, like Digimon, it almost feels like we're heading into like the control, not really Renaissance, but like a more control heavy format where it's just like you better have protection and you better have big DP to hit over these two walls. Otherwise, you're barely a deck.
yeah, you will not be able to hang with the boys if because almost every time you evolve into Rapid, and if you can keep it on your turn, he effectively will be 18k on your opponent's turn, which is just insane without any other DP boosts because his effect is once per turn, and his when Digivolving effect lasts until the opponent's turn. So then, if they swing into security, you get your effect, gain an extra 3k on suspense, but he effectively becomes an 18k blocker that's unaffected by everything in the game. So it's like this. If you is basically the way I'm calling this format is definitely going to be the DP wars. That's what this format will be. If you cannot get past either by negging this DP of these guys, which in the case of Magna you will not be able to do that, or you're able to bypass them. If you can't bypass them, you're not doing nothing in this format.
Yeah, and the fact that he's also treated like he's just a vaccine naturally on top of 3 colors is already kind of stupid and gross.
He's
And then he's
vaccine
also treated
free,
as free.
3 colors, vaccine free. This is a 18K, right? Uh, 18K. What's it called? Heaven's Judgment or
Oh,
20?
yeah. Just Heaven's Judgment for 18 just with Magna on the field
Yes,
alone.
ridiculous, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, so it is bonkers how much. Actually, it's more than that. It's 24
24. It's
because it
3
starts off
activations.
6 and then
Yeah.
it's 1, 2, 3. So it's 24K.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Wow.
24,000. So 2 megas just auto dead.
And that's not even saying you could have another color with red Vmon.
Correct. You could have red Vmon or a Ukomon on the board. Does it?
Yeah.
It's just it is bonkers what you will be able to do in this format going forward. So I'm excited because of how aggressive the format feels at the moment, at least from what I played.
Really?
Uh, it feels pretty aggressive. Like
Well, I
we're
guess
not
like
like
when you have big blockers that are also punching hard, like yeah, it would feel aggressive. And people are saying right now BT15 is an aggressive format, and I'm just like, yeah, BT15 is only aggressive because like Numemon is just such a steamroll like snowbally
yeah
deck. And like the sad thing is when I have to compare that to like Red Hybrids, which is the number 2 deck right now, and Red Hybrids is basically like, yeah, I'm actually fair and for the most part honest. The most dishonest thing I have is Warp with Takuya into Emperor. Like that's
yep
about the
for
most
3.
dishonest thing that he has. Everything
That's
else
pretty
is
that's
like,
pretty absurd though. But
yeah, like Red Hybrids to me feels like the best fair deck that we have left. And like if that's the best fair deck that we have left, I'm like this is sad. This is sad.
see, I'm not vain of that because I do think a lot of these decks are fun to play.
Oh, I'm not
Um,
saying they're not. Although I can't figure out Numemon's playstyle for the life of me. I just need to find the right color combination, I guess.
I mean, that's the beauty of Digimon. It purely is just the most flexible deck. You can just
Well,
change. And
until we get to BT16, where all that flexibility is taken away for Ukamon,
yeah,
because
but you could still run whatever eggs you want.
yeah, you
You could
could.
still do, and that allows you to be more flexible with the options, tamers, and things like that. Um, so it's very interesting. Like I like a lot of these decks, and then even like for example, Magna and Rapidmon, there's two distinctly different ways to play the decks. Um, and then of course there's the version of vaccine that just amalgamates all of them together. Um, so I'm I honestly, I mean, for playing at least, I played a lot of this already. Um, at least 30 or 40 games already in the last like week, and I enjoyed my time playing it. Yes, it does sometimes feel like Magna's insane, um, but it doesn't. I don't know. There's something about it. I'd rather go against this Magna that's killing me in like 2 turns than like yeah, like a yellow vaccine deck that's sitting there waiting for you, stalling, giving like healing, security control that's healing, and I'd rather deal with this that's at least ending the game fairly quickly than decks that just don't that are just sitting there and just mindlessly removing your board and not actually hitting you. So it's like I don't know. At least maybe my mindset is just dumb or something like that. But I definitely have been enjoying this meta quite a bit. Goremon's fun to play.
Yeah,
Um,
collision is kind of interesting. Give all your Digimon blocker and then just force you to block him.
it's so cool. It's such an interesting deck, and there's so many interesting ways to build it. It is still incomplete. Come BT is it 17?
Yeah,
Yes,
BT17.
17. 17 is when it completes the deck with the dex line. Um, but that's okay because even what we have here is still pretty cool. Um, and then I'm enjoying the Sylphimon deck. Imperial Dramon is fun to play.
Let's
There's a
not
lot.
forget about everyone's favorite deck that just never seems to die, and that's D Brigade. D
It
Brigade,
gets more love. in this
Yeah,
set.
you get more Digipolice D Brigade, and honestly, this is kind of what we were waiting for in like BT15 because I hate to spoil things, but the Digipolice stuff from BT15 is mid at best. It barely functions with the deck. All of the decks that have competitively topped with D Brigade, which is a total of like one or two of them, they're not using any of the BT15 Digipolice stuff except for like Hisaryumon and maybe a Ryudamon. They're mostly just straight up Digipolice or D Brigade, just because there's more
Yes.
functionality together, and this just doubles down on the D Brigade and Digipolice at the same time. It really brings the deck into
Gives
a
you
new version.
another top end piece to play with.
Yeah, and you even could technically try to run Chaosmon. I love that card, but I think he's just
Chaosmon is
kind of
really good.
clunky.
He's really solid though. Like he is definitely clunky in regards to like playing it in a pure version of the deck, but I think there's there's gonna be ways to make him work for sure, and not in a way that would just absolutely screw you, because he is insane. Like his evolution is like his effect is awesome.
I think
Like
like D Brigade, what they need is Shadow Seraphimon, so that way they have a good yellow Digimon that they can use to use for
DNA
chaos.
and then partition
Yeah,
if it dies, and then play Shadow Seraphi back, and then it's still annoying something that your opponent has to deal with. I like it. Like I like it because it adds more things that you can do, which is good. That's how it should be. It adds more flexibility to decks. Um, I mean, I forgot Vikemon Ace is here too. Like, there's a lot of cool cards in this set, and
yeah. There's a
the
lot of good
decks.
level 6 aces. So like what a lot of like Dark Masters decks were just waiting for were just some of these good ace
Like
cards that they
generically
could
good
use.
aces.
Because like right now we're just kind of just meandering with trying to be devas but worse. But now like some of these aces just really usher in that type of deck because of their color combinations and how strong their effects are. Like Kawaga Ace is, or like yeah, Grand Kawaga Ace is just such an insanely good card on his own. Obviously he wants to be
Yeah,
played with Tyrant, but like oh,
but he could
Dark
still just be
Masters,
used.
yeah, Dark
Generic.
Masters is you have both of those color combinations. Same thing with Vikemon Ace. Like they're automatically just really good in their own decks, but stuff like that just makes other decks, shine a little bit more because of the potential and possibility. Even Leviamon kind of gets a little bit of support
Yeah,
because you get some of his like other X antibody
Syakomon X
cards.
and Gesomon, which
Yeah,
Gesomon is actually like really fucking good.
yeah,
Excuse
the
my language.
Gessamon X. Yeah.
Yeah, he is actually like really good. Like,
I don't know in the wake of all of this like aggression and protection if Leviamon is actually going to be able to hold on his own because right now he's kind of falling.
yeah, I think the idea people are gonna have to switch the idea up, and instead of being like, oh, we're gonna go for just absurd control, you kind of have to just go for like the balls to the wall OTK. Like
The one
you,
that killed me in like 3 turns.
that's like the only way you'll be able to play Leviathan, because control doesn't matter
Yeah, that was
anymore in
using
this format.
Cerberus
Yeah,
X.
the rush version. That's like the version I think will need to be played if you want to compete a lot higher. Um, I mean, you could play the control version and then hope your opponent hits into bombs. Like
Because option
Magnamon
removal
X
is still
still
kind of.
has to hit,
Yeah.
like still has to survive the first check in order for him to, unless they use Blinding Ray or something like that. But most decks are not running more than like a copy or two.
That's why they also run like TK, yellow TKs.
Exactly. hmm
So they
If
have
you're playing
other
the vaccine
ways.
version, there's other ways to get it to proc, of course, but they still need an effect. So that moment where they do swing and they're not protected, that's still a vulnerable moment where a bomb could screw them over. Um, but there's ways they can play around it. So it's the way I look at it is I'm not going to play around my opponent making the misplay. I'm going to play around me making the best plays possible. So, and I think if you're playing Leviathan, you probably have to switch the ideology to just aggro. at the current moment.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe that changes. Maybe we're all dumb and this is just a lie. And none of this happens the way we're thinking about it. I don't think that's the case after playing a bunch, but um, there's room for error, room for growth. We'll see.
Yeah, I know we talked like a lot, and there's still just a lot in this set. Like this set is a very dense set because we get like Machine Dramon support, Leomon support. We technically get
Lugamon.
more Dark Animals and Lugamon support. We get Pulsemon, Lotmon. Like there's just a lot going on here, and I think that's gonna like help make the set feel very good. On top of the cards just already being like incredibly strong. Like even though the Pulsemon stuff right now because we're getting more Pulsemon stuff later. But this is like where the start of it is, and
It's
like
all good.
yeah, and then like I said, Lugamon is getting a whole bunch of support, both direct and indirect, because he can play with Dark Animals. So you get Sethmon as
Mm-hmm.
like a new level 4 you could play around with. Then we have a
Dino
DNA
B.
on color with partition, so that way he could just split apart what he was fused with, because everything is starting to be 2 colors anyway. And all we're using Chimera for is just the DNA, and Dino B is just the better on color DNA that is searchable.
Exactly. It's awesome. Like I'm so excited to get my hands like on these cards and playing and getting like into it because I mean I've been playing just to prepare for June regional. Is it
Yeah,
June?
I
Yeah.
gotta get on that. I've been too busy with BT15 content and trying to focus on doing as well as I can in BT15. Spoiler, that's not doing me very good. I
You and
feel
me
like I
both.
know the format now, and I probably can pay less attention to it. So I should start paying attention to BT16 more than just knowing what the cards do and what decks are playable.
Yeah, I mean you and me both. BT15, I'm getting cooked out here.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just having a hard time deciding what I actually want to play, which is why I'm like defaulting to Mirage, is because like I don't know if I'll be able to get the cards in time for the June regional. So I'm just like, well, I can get at least a couple of boxes. The cards that I need for the most part are low rarity.
Commons and uncommons, right? You just want the level 4? No? And then
Most of it is just the level 4, but there's part of me that also just wants to run Vike Ace in the deck.
I like that, another defensive option.
Yeah,
I dig
because
it. I dig it quite a bit.
like I've seen some people play around with different aces for
These
Mirage.
Imperial.
Um, Especially if you're not gonna like wombo combo, you could just like, oh, I'm going to bait you into a Zudo ace, and now if I'm being aggressive with my level 5 and I don't have the correct Digimon, I could try to bait them into a Vike ace as well. What does he actually do?
He
D-Digivolve 2,
Digivolve
that's pretty
too.
good. All of the opponents with fewer Digivolution sources can't suspend. And then when
And then
attacking,
what
delete
if
one of the
then delete?
opponent's Digimon with fewer Digivolution sources. So he's alright.
I like him a lot. I think he's pretty good. He's very solid.
Yeah,
Like
he
if your
makes me
opponent
want to
plays
run
into him,
Kudamon as the hybrid instead of Lana.
yeah, if your opponent plays into this, you punish them super hard in the following turn.
Yeah, because the most important thing about the card is obviously the D-Digivolve, but the can't suspend with fewer sources. That's
That's a
probably like
lot.
really good at trying to shut off like Numemon from being aggressive. So I
Nume,
like it.
Uko, like rookies, so like decks get going wide with little guys.
Yeah, and then I just start swinging and just chip them all away to death. Even though like it's not bounce removal, it's deletion removal. It's still solid.
It's not bad. It's definitely pretty good, and it helps into a good amount of matchups.
Yeah,
Um,
and I know you're probably super excited for the Light Fang Nightclaw update with Agumon being
we're
your
finally a
actual
full
other
deck.
rookie.
We're finally a full deck. Good lord, it's
Yeah,
too
I know.
long.
There's just this set is just so dense. There's just a lot going on. I think like for pre-release, it's gonna be really freaking awkward. But
It's gonna be
pre-releases
pretty
are
fun.
always awkward.
I think it's gonna be pretty fun, to be
It's gonna
honest.
be absolutely crazy because
The
of all of
aces
the
plus the things,
yeah, all
man.
of the
I love it.
aces and all of the armor purge. Like it's This is going to be one of the more interesting pre-releases. I have not even studied up on what would be good for this type of pre-release yet. Obviously, there's a lot of good cards in here.
I think there's a lot of good. I would look at it as like very hard pressed for me to sit there and look and be like, yeah, these cards are all awful, or like these cards are bad for pre-release. Like,
No,
I
some
don't
of them
know,
are
man.
probably
There's
really good. Usually, I'll give my little pre-release spoilers. The first thing I always look for is blocker. So
Yep.
that's the first ability I look for is how many Digimon have blocker or can give blocker, and then how many of those Digimon are on the lower levels. And that kind of dictates if the set is going to be more aggressive or more tempo based.
Like
Uh,
Valkyrie Ace is gonna be crazy during pre-release.
yeah,
Valkyrie's gonna go bonkers, dude.
there's a lot of, but that's a super rare, so the chances of you getting that is actually kind of low.
Yeah,
Not
but
awful, but low.
Imperial Ace, I believe, isn't it a rare?
Imperial
Um,
Ace. That is a yeah. Imperial
it is
Fighter
a
Mode
rare.
Ace is a
The
rare.
Fighter Ace is a rare.
Yeah, that's gonna be like a really important card. Like looking at low rarities, looking at the types of abilities.
Vike's an SR. That's funny that Imperial Ace got the S rare and Vikemon got a
Yeah.
SR.
Both. It's probably because both Imperials got the rare treatment. Uh,
Very interesting.
yeah. It's probably because of Magna, to be
That makes
honest.
sense. Yeah, because it took the blue slot SR, but then Vike is there, or maybe Vike took the black spot SR.
Vike took the blue
No,
slot SR
yeah, that's what I was saying. So then,
because
because
the
then
black
Shako,
SR is
is it not
Shakamon.
Shako? Yeah, that's what I thought. So then,
Yeah, because
interesting.
Darkdramon's a rare.
Yeah, Magna took
Uh,
the secret rare slot.
and
So then,
Dorogora's a rare also.
yeah, interesting. Very
Yeah, so
interesting.
Shaco is the black
That kind
SR.
of makes sense. All the DNAs got the SR treatment.
Yeah, DNAs and
Um,
aces.
and then some of the level threes, because like Dorumon is a SR, and I think Pulsemon. Is it no? That's not this set. Next set is the SR Pulsemon, or EX or not EX BT17.
Yeah. But there's just a lot going on. Like we even get four grade dragons support.
Yeah,
So
and the birds and holy
but
dude, I'm so excited.
yeah,
It's gonna be
but
crazy.
to kind of wrap things up, we talked a lot about like what's inside of the set, but as far as the actual meta goes, we're getting more back to, you know, traditional, let's see what Japan did. I know we should all take Japanese data with a grain of salt because, you know, not all of them are best of ones because literally just Japan is
Yeah.
best of ones. Everyone else is best of threes that play in the Japanese format. So we do have to
Mhm.
keep some of that in mind. But there's not a huge amount of difference between best of ones and best of threes. It's just the more consistent decks are obviously going to be the ones showing up more. So you'll get like the random oddball deck that you would never think would win, kind of winning once and then doing absolutely nothing. But it looks like, from what I can tell, BT16, the meta kind of seems to be dominated by the secret rare decks. So the
Yep.
Rapidmon deck definitely is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and then the Magnamon deck is also going to be a force to be reckoned with. Bugs looks pretty high up there in terms of like overall performance, just because you know protection, DP wars. Imperial seems pretty good. I know a lot of people are excited for Imperial coming back, both vaccine and normal, or not vaccine, virus and normal.
Rat
I think
virus, yeah.
the virus is definitely more of a meme build still. It did get some better tools, but it's still not there. It's still just not there. Um
Yeah.
and then what are some
Still
of
need to
the
high
other
roll pretty heavy for the virus version.
Yeah, yellow vaccines is going to be everywhere because you know you actually have the armors to play around with on top of just more, you know, vaccine tools in general. Because as long
Right.
as they print any yellow card that says vaccine, they're going to go ballistic. Numemon is definitely going to be still really good. Lugamon with his support seems pretty good. I don't know how well he's going to
I
actually
like
hold
it.
up.
It's pretty good. I'm not gonna front. It feels pretty solid.
Yeah, those are probably like my top picks in terms of decks that we probably are going to be seeing and thinking about. And then there's going to be, obviously, based on all of that, what's going to try to form to combat that, and that's kind of where our meta is going to start, is where they left off and how we can start iterating and trying to tackle it. Like, Japan found the Mirage tech that actually is good enough, where it's just like, okay, I don't need DP, I just don't need to be blocked, and then my DP is irrelevant because I should have jamming.
Yep, I could bypass it and not worry about it.
Yeah, so it's getting into that territory. That'll definitely start being the proving grounds on what's going to be playable and what's not. So I'm trying to think like what else, because I know EX6 is gonna also be just around the corner shortly after. But
When does that
EX6
come
for the
out?
most part, outside of a couple new decks like all of the other EX sets, it's not really going to try to shake up the current meta that much. Demon Lords is going to be like obviously the big deck, and there's obviously going to be a couple of others, but because they're trying to make EX sets sell, so they're trying to power creep the crap out of them so they
June.
actually can perform, unlike the other ones.
So it's June 28th for us.
June 28th. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
BT16 comes out late May 27th, I believe.
I think it's the 24th.
24th. God, I'm awful at
Let
this.
me make sure. Yeah, it's the 24th because it's the week after the May 17th or May 18th regional.
Yeah, God, I'm wow. So yeah, you have like 2 weeks to 3 weeks to get your cards. 1 week for pre-release, 2 weeks for actual before. Or
You have 1 week.
oh, you have 1 week.
You
Oh
have
God,
1 week
yeah,
for the till the. I think it's no, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks
yeah,
until the first regional of BT16.
yeah. But BT15's almost over. We do still have a lot of events spread out between the different regions, but I definitely think if you are looking ahead, starting to prepare for BT16 now is definitely going to be smart, because like I said, I don't think our BT15 meta is really going to be changing all too much. Things at this point definitely seem very solidified in what's going to be good. BT16 definitely has a lot of hype around it. Um, and I don't know if we're going to be suffering the consequences of the Magna X uh, like design philosophy for a while. It was supposed to be we're supposed to suffer under um, Apocalypse, but thankfully they fixed that. So right now in Japan, even in BT17, Magna is still one of the better decks. So if you're thinking about investing in it, like Magna definitely is not going to go anywhere. That card in that deck is just too good.
Yeah, it is a super good investment to start getting the Magnamon stuff and the Rapidmon stuff as soon as you can, for sure.
Yeah, and then on top of Imperial also looks to be doing some really
Yep.
good numbers. I know Japan usually has like new deck bias, so again, just take some of that with a grain of salt, especially with specific events, kind of like shaking things up. So it's just like, oh, Bugs might have like an overwhelming showing because that was when they were getting the mono green stuff. So it's just like, okay, that makes sense on why their data would be slightly skewed based on when they had their events. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. But yeah, it's just around the corner, and we're going to start prepping for it. So feel free to tell us your thoughts about BT16 as per question and just in general down in the comments. I think this is probably a really good place to wrap things up. So I want to
Okay.
thank everyone for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed and want to help support the podcast, again, please make sure to share it with others on social media so that way we can get it to spread on top of doing all of the other, classic like, follow, subscribe stuff. And I want to thank you all again for listening all the way to the end. We will see you next time.